Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal. And I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing tonight?
6-2 Oilers over the Vancouver Canucks. A division rival with the craziest fan base on earth. And by crazy, I mean wild-eyed nuts.
Oh. Well, the ones that make their presence felt on social media are collectively quite a bunch, I would say. I have to say. Paul Almeida put up a tweet the other day and said, which of the following four teams has the, I can't remember quite how he worded it, but it was specific to their social media presence. And he listed the Canucks, the Flames, the Maple Leafs, and maybe Vegas or Ducks or somebody was the fourth team. And Vancouver took 80% of the vote. And this is in a 4-option poll. And my snide reply was, I was surprised it was that close. Because it really is.
I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because we've had, Oiler fans and I'm a fan, right? I write as a fan, and there's been fights with Flames fans are actually pretty subdued, and the American fan bases are fairly subdued, generally speaking. Toronto fans are fine. Flames fans are fine generally, even though there's a lot of competition with those two teams. Those games are intense.
Yeah.
But Vancouver
next level.
Fans,
remember after
it's a whole different league of wild-eyed crazy, Bruce, is what I see. Like just unhinged.
7-game series last year, I was exhausted with it. And then you remember the Dallas series started, and some DJ in Dallas got kind of had a real bad, horrible take on the Ben Stelter situation.
Oh, geez.
And he got called out on it. And he had the grace to back right down, apologize, and start a donation to the Stelter Foundation that wound up getting, I think, a couple of tens of thousands of dollars out of Dallas. And it was like a love fest after that. It was such a pleasant breath of fresh air change to the toxicity of the exchanges with Vancouver. And I'll say Vancouver fans have an ability to draw Edmonton fans down into the muck,
for sure.
And it doesn't help.
Yeah. To their credit, to the credit of two Vancouver fans, they made the single funniest hockey video that I think I've ever seen. It's these two kind of posers singing to the music of U2's "Where the Streets Have No Name," but they're singing "The Oilers Suck" to it. And if you haven't seen it on YouTube, it is hilarious. It is brilliant. It is so witty and funny and clever. So they must live in, I don't know, they must be Vancouver fans in Kamloops or something. All right. Enough of that. Enough fun. Bruce, 6-2 win, huge win. 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers, but we'll go with 2 good things each because that was a pretty big win. Considering the recent history and the previous playoff history. What's your first good thing?
Win the series, for one thing. I'm going to go with Edmonton's first goal, and particular focus on the spectacular pass Leon Draisaitl made to Zach Hyman. I mean, Leon, they won a battle behind their own net, and Leon sort of patiently took it off to the side, but it was right along his own end boards. And they finally, got a little space to look up and see what was out there. What was out there was Zach Hyman streaking across the center red line on the left wing side. Leon was in the right wing corner, and he fires a backhand pass up through the neutral zone over the stick of one of his other winger who was out in the neutral zone, And he wasn't aiming for that guy. He was aiming to put it over his stick and into the path of Hyman, who took it off the boards and just outside of the opposing blue line. That had to be, I mean, just north-south, it had to be 120 feet because it was basically the very end boards to 20 feet over the red line. And then when you add in the diagonal element of, right wing below the circle to the boards on the left wing side, you're talking probably 140,
That's what I
150
guessed.
feet with a backhand rocket of a pass. And basically, I can't quite say it was tape to tape because he just sort of put it in Hyman's path. And then Hyman did what Hyman does, and he had sort of a crack of space against the defender. And he was able to use that to dip, as he does, dip into the slot. He's really good at it coming off the left wing as he was here.
Amazing, eh?
And he just dipped right in front of the slot and was able to jam a short shot through Thatcher Demko's pads. And just like that, it was 1-0 Oilers just before the first TV timeout. And they, of course, held the lead then for the rest of the night. But just a breathtaking. I'm of the school. I've always loved great passing in hockey, and Leon constantly makes me gasp with some of the stuff he does. He made a number of great passes in this game, across the slot, forehand, backhand, short, long, what have you. He's got a whole bag of tricks, and he's gotten smarter of what to do, when not to do stuff this year. I think that's one of the biggest improvements he's made in his game. And when something is not worth the risk, and he's finally incorporated a sense of risk management in there that's just made him a devastating player now.
Not as many turnovers at the blue line, put it that way.
Yeah.
Bruce, he's just much more focused this year. And I don't know what it is. Like, what was the decision? What was the moment? I think it's maturity and a decision. Like, time is fleeting in life, and especially in the NHL. It's ticking fast. And for them to win the cup, I think he's realized, like, he just has to can't have those moments on the ice of whatever it was, bad body language, sulking, inconcentration, lack of concentration. Inconcentration is not a word. Lack of concentration. He's just intense on the ice. He's ramped up his focus and his intensity. And you're right. Defensively, he's never been this good. Offensively, he's never been this good. He is a much better player, Bruce, than in his MVP year. He is. Yeah. He's 20% better, 25% better. And just stay healthy, man. That's all it's going to take for the Oilers to win the cup. Him and McDavid and a few of the other guys stay healthy. That's a little bit of probably overstatement on my part. Bruce, my good thing is the Oilers power play. I think they figured it out. They were missing McDavid's movement. He's the freelancer out there, goes wherever he wants, and they thought, hey, let's put Ryan Nugent-Hopkins in that same role. Let's get Skinner over there where Nuge usually is, and let's give Nuge the ability to roam a little bit in the offensive zone. And I think it really worked. It really paid off. The first goal, Hyman at the side of the net kind of wins the puck over to Nuge, who takes it behind the net. Makes a number of, if you watch his footwork, his skating there, it's like Elvis Stoico, man, he's moving his feet so well. And he makes a great pass to Leon Draisaitl, who launches a version of the executioner shot and slams that harpoon right in the net. Just a great goal. Second period, there's another great goal. This time it's Nuge scoring. Now, you noticed Bouchard making a play to win the puck. All I noticed was Nuge and Draisaitl working the McDavid Draisaitl 2-on-1 and give and go, and down low, and Draisaitl putting it onto Nuge's stick and him firing in a great shot. What did Bouchard do on the play?
What he did was he was able to keep possession for Edmonton. They'd had a near miss on a prior shot where Jeff Skinner, had set up Nuge, and he rang the post. and the puck bounced over to the right wing boards, and it looked like it was going to go to a place where Vancouver was going to be able to get it and ice it. And Bouchard just read it fast, and he really hustled over there and he did the extended stick thing that he does really well, and was able to get to the puck first and chip it back down along the boards. There was 3 or 4 passes after that that were, unexceptional, but I thought his play to keep the possession was an important one battle that led to the goal. So I rated it as a contribution to that goal.
Yeah, that makes sense. It was just I give credit to Knobloch. Like he just figured it out game to game. Like here's what's missing, and here's the closest player that we have. It's actually Nugent Hopkins the closest to McDavid, not Draisaitl. Draisaitl has his own game, and
He sure
it's a
does.
great game along the boards and in that spot. The right circle. You want Leon there on your power play. He's not the guy that you want skating all over the place.
Oh,
Nuge is the guy. He can do that pretty well. Before McDavid came to Edmonton, he did that quite a bit, although it was more of a static power play always until they actually freed McDavid up. I think in about, what was it, the 2017 or 2018-19 season, after much lobbying from the cult of hockey. They they freed up McDavid to roam
yeah.
around the ice.
And the
And
power play went from the worst in the league to, in about
yes,
2 years, to the best in the league.
yes,
And it
indeed.
was a huge change. Like McDavid on the half wall is just like a lot of other guys, skilled guys on the half wall. But
Yeah,
it was the time was, you've got a special weapon here. Don't go with the standard approach. Find a way to use that guy. And they did. Huge credit to Glenn Gulitson, who,
wasn't
when
it
they hired
Woodcroft that
him,
first did it?
was Gulitson in 2018.
Okay.
And he's been the PP coach ever since.
Yeah, I was
And
kind
he
of held it.
survived about 5 different head coaches, but they keep him on because he's been, had turned that power play around. Like they were literally dead last in the NHL in power play goals in 2017-18, and the team leader had 6. You know, and then, well, we've seen what's happened since, and Leon has been unleashed as a power play goal scoring weapon.
Yes.
But in large part, that's because of McDavid. We noted it in the podcast the other night that we thought the power play was too stationary, and the 2
Yeah.
chances that they got, no, 3, because they got the 6-on-4 at the end.
Yeah.
And Knobloch, as we were doing our thing, he was given his post game, and he made the exact same point. The power play was too stationary, just passing post to post without anybody moving. Of course, the movement guy was sitting in the press box watching it, and they still had to figure something different out. And to their credit, they did tonight. So good on Chris Knobloch, and good on the players on the power play. Jeff Skinner, he led the Oilers in power play time tonight, 6 minutes and 33 seconds. Jeff Skinner had
2 grade A shots.
6:31. Yeah, and he was snake bit. He couldn't buy a damn goal, but
Yeah,
he
I
had some
like him
good
on the power
shots.
play.
He set up Nuge, and Nuge hit the post. So
Yeah, that's right. That was
he's,
a nice play by Skinner.
yeah, it was. So anyway, that was the big change, was putting him out there instead of Arvidsson as the 5th guy.
Bruce, what's your second good thing?
Yeah, I'm going to shout out Noah Philp. And I wrote a post about him last night, sort of a little curious as what are the Oilers doing with this guy that, against Washington, he played 5 minutes and 15 seconds, and every other Oiler was over 10 minutes. And sort of what the heck's going on here? Like the whole reason to call him up when they did was to give him some runway to prove whether he can make the, a difference, or whether they're going to have to go out and trade for a 4th liner. But let's see what we got first. And quite a number of pundits called that move, ages ago, that it would have to happen, kind of in January as opposed to a week before the deadline. And here we are, and it happened. And then it was his 4th game, and here he was playing 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I looked at his shifts, and, he was all right, but he didn't have a lot of time to, make a big impact on the game. But it wasn't like he stood out like a sore thumb for being poor. Well, anyway, tonight, and one of the things, of course, was this was not a 1-goal game. tooth and nail down the stretch in the third period, like so many games have been lately. And anyway, he got to play 10 minutes and 55 seconds tonight. He got an assist, and a really nice assist, which was a sweet play where the puck got turned over, Corey Perry forecheck, and the puck came to Philp. And his play was to quickly wheel and fire it on net because he was already kind of in the mid slot. But what he did was quickly wheel and find Zach Hyman at the side of the net. And instead of just firing on net himself, he aimed for Hyman's stick. And anyway, Hyman was able to tip it up and over Demko. And that was the one that made it 4-0. And just a smart offensive play. He had a couple other chances. He had a 2-on-1 where he outweighted the sliding defenseman, pulled it inside, and fired a hard shot on Demko, and was able to make the save. And overall, I mean, his numbers on the night, other than one concerning one, 2 out of 9 on the face-off circle, 22%. But in his 11 minutes, two shots, 5 shot attempts, 2 hits, a takeaway, and positive, team possession shot shares while he was out there. And I just thought, he looked every bit the part of a solid 4C in this game. And that's, it's a data point, but he's got to build some positive ones up. And this was a real nice bounce back from the last game where he didn't get a lot of opportunity. See, there's a little hitch in his skating. He's not a super speedster, but he sure does react well when the puck changes direction. He changes direction. He doesn't have like grade A straight ahead speed, but he's pretty reactive and he's very good positionally. So there's a lot to like about this guy. And of course, he's big. He's a right shot. He's inexperienced, but he's a mature guy. I mean, he's 26 years old. In fact, he's so old he's not listed as a rookie in the NHL. He exceeded the age limit by a couple of weeks due to the Sergei Makarov rule. But he is the closest thing Edmonton has to a rookie, clearly. And tonight, I thought a very positive game from Noah Philp.
He reminds me a little of Kyle Brodziak, who was
that's a very good comp.
Who was a good third, fourth line center in the NHL for a decade. Now, by the time he came back, he was good in Edmonton, and for some reason they traded him. When he came back, though, he was not good. But in between then, he had been with the Wild, maybe one other team, and he had been really good. He had just a smart positional player, could skate fast enough, big guy, could move the puck. Yeah, and Philp could be that guy. So we'll see. He might get to that level of play and have that kind of career in the NHL.
That's a real good comp for the style of player.
Yeah, he reminds me of that. Just his skating, good, but not, like you say, a little bit of a hitch there. Mm-hmm. Bruce, my good thing is second good thing is Corey Perry. He stole the show tonight. He really did. And I'm saying he scored a Corey Perry hat trick, which is a point, an ambush, and a devious mind frack. So laughing at my own joke. Mm-hmm. The point was in the first period, typical greasy Corey Perry play behind the net. Wins the puck in the court, gets it around the boards to Ekholm, who slams it back around the boards behind the net, and Adam Henrique gets it, and in a tremendous piece of skill, rapidly takes the puck from behind the net, out front of the net, and slams it by the goalie.
The backhand side.
On the backhand. Adam Henrique still has good hands in tight. And it served him well in the playoffs this year, and he's starting to get a little bit more of an offensive game going right now. I think he's getting a few more points. Seventh goal
tonight on that play.
Yeah, he's not exactly tearing up the pea patch, but he's he's doing okay. And anyway, so that was the assist. The ambush was on Quinn Hughes. And this is going to be, it's all over the internet already. Hughes goes in, gets a shot, and Connor Garland, public enemy number one in Edmonton's, I hear, from people in Vancouver, hallucinatory people in Vancouver. We weren't mad at Connor Garland. In fact, he got a lot of credit in Edmonton, not particularly. He got a lot of credit for being smart. We were mad at the refs in Edmonton, and we were mad at Tyler Myers for a really nasty, uncalled for cross-check right into the face of Evan Bouchard, and we were mad at the league for the suspension. Connor Garland, that's hockey. Anyway, Garland
game
goes
in the
in
system. That's what gamers do.
Yeah, that's what Corey Perry does, and it's what he did tonight.
Yep.
They got 100%. A taste of their own medicine.
Yes.
So Garland goes in there, and there's a huge scrum, and Corey Perry decides he's going to pull a Tyler Myers. He sees their star defenseman, Quinn Hughes, off to the side, bugging no one, just standing there all on his own. And Perry, of course, goes there and gives him a nasty face wash. Then he grabs hold of him and essentially throws him to the ice and holds him down. It was a dirty play by Corey Perry on their star player. But Bruce, I had very little sympathy.
Didn't cross-check him in the face.
So. Didn't cross-check him in the face. No worse than what Garland did to McDavid, honestly, and turnabout is fair play. He got a penalty. Perry got a penalty. Garland didn't. So it enraged the Vancouver Canucks. They never got over it. The rest of the game, all they could think about was trying to get Corey Perry. In fact, there was one hilarious play in the third period where Perry's coming over the blue line with the puck, and a defenseman on Vancouver tries to line him up for a hit, and Perry moves, and he loses the puck, unfortunately. But the defenseman just totally missed him with the hit, went flying by and flopped down on the ice. In the meantime, Teddy Bluger of the Vancouver Canucks has tried to pick a fight with Perry, and this is the devious mindfrack. And Perry, we don't know what he's saying or doing, but we can imagine he's being maximum annoying, terrible twos toddler annoying, and or worse. And so Bluger tries to fight him, and he throws down his gloves and starts throwing, and Perry just keeps his gloves on, holds him away from his body, and Bluger's throwing the punches, but he can't hit Perry. And Perry doesn't get a penalty, and Bluger does. Vancouver, they were just incensed. JT Miller was constantly yapping at Perry, talking to Perry, probably threatening him. And Perry is just, he's got that little smile on his face. And you can see this piece of art behind me here. This is by Wendell and Lamb Chop on social media. I don't know what all the different platforms. Wendell and Lamb Chop
for sure. Yeah, Wendo. She's
Wendo
known as mostly, but yeah, she's
what a great image that is.
She's a great cartoonist. Like, she does Oilers every game. She just comes up with multiple, usually 4-panel cartoons. This is an exception to her usual rule. She also did lots of Ben Stelter art, and stuff for charity and stuff too. She's one of the good ones.
A gift to Oilers fandom. She's fantastic, and that is a great image of Corey Perry. So good work, Wendell. Yeah. And good work, Corey Perry. That was Bruce. If he can do that in the playoffs, like if he can start riling it up, he's been coming on, Corey Perry. And I mentioned this last game how I've had to do a little bit of an about face because I was negative about Corey Perry for the first couple months of the season, at least. In the last month, he's been playing really well, and he's coming on, and I'm glad he's an Oiler. I'm glad he's on the Oilers.
Well, he's now up to 8 goals and 8 assists in 47 games, and that's averaging 11 and a half minutes a night, and some second power play, but mostly much. Down the lineup in the bottom 6, and sometimes he gets promoted late in games because they actually trust him to be able to score a big goal once in a while. And he had tonight one official assist and one what we used to call unofficial assist on the Hyman goal that Philp set up. It was Perry who basically forced the turnover, flushed the puck out. and he didn't touch it, so he didn't get a point. But on our score sheet, he was a major contributor to 2 Oilers goals. And in addition to, and the other small detail I'll add is that when he got when he enticed Blueger to throw punches at him, Troy Stetcher had taken a penalty on this play, and this was at a pretty sensitive point in the game, or it could have been. Vancouver scored there too late in the second to make it 5-2, and this was 1:47 into the third. Stetcher took a tripping penalty. Vancouver was finally going to get their first power play, which they never did get one. And instead of getting the power play, Blueger took the bait. And while he was swinging away at Perry, Perry was holding his gloves up and looking over at the referee. You see, he's throwing bare knuckle punches, and I'm the non-aggressor here. You're going to have to call him and not me. And that's exactly what happened. And poof goes the Vancouver power play opportunity. They score there. And suddenly it's 5-3. They got 3 in a row, and there's almost an entire period left.
Yeah.
And instead, Teddy Blueger's sitting in the penalty box. Corey Perry's sitting over on the bench smirking, and the score just stays 5-2, right? And I mean, it was a detail. It could have been, it's more a case of what could have happened if that didn't happen. You think Vancouver scores there, and then what? Maybe now they get their legs going, and then maybe they do get another power play at some point later, and anyway, it was Corey's kind of night. Lots of greasy stuff, eh?
Indeed. Bruce, what is your bad thing?
Yeah, I couldn't find a whole lot wrong with the game. A couple of little niggling things, but my bad thing is that the season series with Vancouver is already over after just 3 games, which matches well, it doesn't quite match because the Calgary season series isn't over yet. They played 2 of the 3 games, but the NHL schedule with its weird 82, let's do exactly what the NBA does, 82 game schedule, means that they're 2 games light on a perfectly balanced how they do it. Home and away against the other conference, 3 games against the other division in your conference, and then 4 against teams in your division. Well, all that would add up to 84 games. So they decided that to get to 82 would take 1 game away from 2 division rivals. And this year it's Edmonton's 2 closest geographic rivals. So they only play each Calgary and Vancouver 3 times. Vancouver's just their only game of the entire season here. I wouldn't have minded seeing another matchup between these 2 teams with all hands on deck, and I wouldn't mind seeing McDavid have another shot at him. And same thing Calgary. They only got they got 1 game against the Oilers in early November, and that's it for the year. In the meantime, we got 2 home games against St. Louis, against Dallas, teams that are in the Central Division that are certainly not geographic rivals. I think they could set up that schedule different.
Yeah.
And they could take the 2 games away from the other division in your conference.
Yes,
with
every
less
year.
pain than not having a balanced schedule. I think ultimately what they will do is they'll increase it to 84 games, and then they will be able to balance it. And they'll keep that balance for as long until they add 33rd, 34th, 35th team by expansion. But for a 32 team league, 84 games is kind of the magic number for having a reasonably balanced schedule.
Bruce, my bad thing is the 2 goals against. Oilers are up 4-0. There's 4-0. They scored 1 in the third.
Right, to make it 6-2.
Oh, 6.
It was 5-0, and then Vancouver.
Yeah, I forgot. My bad. You are correct. The Oilers are up 5-0. Thank you, Bruce. And a lot of goals there. And just 25 seconds after Nugent Hopkins scores the 5th goal, the Oilers let one in, and it's it's a play that does not have to be a goal. It's a Is it an odd man rush even? It seems like Stetcher just takes the wrong guy. It's not an odd man rush. Stetcher, instead of sticking with Brock Besser or sticking to Brock Besser, who's coming down his wing, he decides to go to the middle to take out a guy. That guy is Nurse's guy. Nurse could have taken him. Nurse was there, but Stetcher took him because Stetcher takes the incoming Vancouver Canuck forward. Besser's open for an outside shot. Now it's an outside shot, and I'm going to say it's like even for a great shooter like Besser, it's about a 15% shot. It's not quite grade A. It's a good shot, and he is a great shooter. And it beats Calvin Pickard. I didn't like Stetcher's play at all on that one, and I think Pickard normally would make that save. It's a save NHL goalies normally make, and he got beat. So I didn't like either of the players on that one. Go ahead.
Well, it's a shot that Besser was going to make once in a while, and he sure made it there. That was a great shot.
Yeah.
Incredible, dude. He put it right over his shoulder and into the top corner from essentially the face-off dot on his off wing.
5-1, and it's 3 minutes later, and they score another one. And again, it's kind of a Jeepers Creepers kind of goal. Like it's
good shot again.
It's a great shot, but it's from the point. And Podkolzin goes to block it, and there is a screen from up high. Doesn't hit Podkolzin though. And Pickard is gassing one way on the shot. You can see him leaning one way, and it goes the other, and he gets beat again. So Podkolzin, he missed the block, but I just think Pickard, he's not super sharp right now. He seems to be guessing a bit and guessing wrong sometimes. Part of the issue is like Stetcher, size matters in the NHL. And if you're a smaller goalie, it's harder to look around screens. It's harder to see what's going on. And sometimes it impacts you, and you're not as huge covering the net. I just think that would have hit Stu Skinner. His positioning was okay, except he was just leaning the wrong way. And by the time he leaned back, it was past him. So yeah, I didn't like either goal particularly. And then it's 5-2, and you don't know what's happening after that. If it had been tipped, but the screen was fairly high out there. So I just think he clearly saw the shot coming, and he misread it. That's why it went in.
Posting in.
Yeah, good shot. Hell of a good shot. It would have, but I think savable.
Still. Yes.
Yeah.
Then they had one about 2 minutes later. Again, Podkolzin was a little bit late getting to the slot, and he tried to hustle over there, and he wound up kind of in Pickard's path again. This shot did hit Podkolzin, then it hit the crossbar and went out of play. It was a redirection, and so officially Podkolzin got credited with a block shot because puck hit him and then it wasn't on net. So that's all that's a criterion for block shot. We call it a grade A because we include shots off the iron. At least dangerous shots off the iron. They're the odd ones that just they got nowhere else to go. But this one easily could have hit the bar and gone down and into the net, and then. But Pickard, his best save came in maybe 1 second after his worst moment in the game when he punted out an absolutely horrible rebound just in the first period.
Yeah.
And then made a fantastic save on the guy trying to jam it into the net afterwards. The rebound was just hide your eyes bad. And then he made up for it instantly with a great save. And the announcers were talking about what a big save it was, and they're right about that part. But it wasn't really the whole picture. That it was a problem of his own doing. It was the old Paul Schmier goalie edition. Make a huge blunder, then make a hero play to make it go away.
On Reddit, my wife told me that they've nicknamed Podkolzin Podzilla.
Not bad.
Which I think is pretty good. That's not bad.
Got the
That's
Z
not bad.
in there, got the, got the pod, certainly, and that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty good.
Yeah,
That's pretty
I
good.
agree.
I'll give
I
credit.
used it in my game grades the other day, so but I don't know who said it on Reddit, but I don't know like if it was made up there first anyway. But anyway, Bruce, your number.
Yeah, there's a few numbers. I'm going to go to Natural Stat Trick, which had the extreme version of what we had on grade A shots, which were, did you say them at the beginning tonight? Grade A
I don't
shots?
think I have 20 to 7 for grade A shots, and the
Mm-hmm.
subset of 5 alarm shots were 13,
The
excuse me, 13
four?
to 4. Yeah. Wow. It was just a slaughter and reflected in the score.
Yeah. So I thought I had this open, but I just got to call it up.
What did they have it there
Oh,
at the
yeah. Well, I'm going to go with all situations, which of course includes the 4 Edmonton
Yeah.
power plays and the 0 Vancouver power plays, because all 4 Edmonton penalties were coincidentals in this game. That's really kind of strange. And so it was pretty close on shots and shot attempts. 54% of shot attempts, 57% of shots, Edmonton. But for high danger chances, they had 21 for Edmonton, 3 for Vancouver. 21 3. 87.5% grade A's for the Oilers. And the related number of expected goals, 4.77 for Edmonton. It's called 4.8 for Edmonton, 1.5 for Vancouver. So 3-1 margin in expected goals, which matches the 6-2 score line in the game. Like Edmonton really dominated this
Yes.
game in terms of, Vancouver had some territorial play as time went on, but in terms of creating really great chances, it was all Oilers. I mean, Demko, he got beat 6 times. He made 2 different saves with the knob of his stick. One was like 20 seconds into the first period. And then he robbed Hyman out of the hat trick where Hyman was just shaking his head. He thought he beat him clean because he put it outside his blocker and over his pad, but it caught the shaft of his stick. And Edmonton rang iron, 3 different times in the game. And Demko made, the other save he made off of Hyman right at the end of the second period where Henrique made a real slick play to feed it across, and Hyman got it up and over the pad, and you think for sure it's going in the net. And somehow Demko stretched all the way across and got his glove, and pulled that one down. And he made a few eye popping stops, and they still beat him 6 times. Like Edmonton created, easily. Well, what do we have? 13 5 alarms. That's a lot, and they they converted some of them, and they just, they were fully deserving of this win, no matter how you slice it in terms of analyzing the numbers. But that 21-3 in high danger really jumped off the screen. You don't usually see a margin quite that extreme. And
You
it's
don't.
just sort of the most extreme of several different stats, including our own, that showed Edmonton dominating Vancouver. And those are 3 words I really like saying often.
Well, the Canucks sure took it to the Oilers last year, including in the playoffs,
Regular
Bruce, when they
season,
could,
yeah. Well, at
including in the
times.
playoffs when they could easily beat the Oilers in the playoffs. I mean, there was some iffy goaltending by Stuart Skinner in that series, but that was a really hard fought battle, and obviously could have gone to either team. The Canucks were a really scary team, and it's weird what's just happened to them since then. They seem to be coming apart, and I guess that happens. It happened to the Flames when they lost to the Oilers in a series, but sure didn't expect it to happen to the Canucks, but
Yeah, they seem like a team on the rise.
they did, and
And they
they
may
still
yet get
do.
it together, but it sounds like there's
Yeah,
going to be a trade in the fairly near future with JT Miller being the leading candidate for leaving.
but he and Zadorov were the 2 players on that team, like 2 massive impact players in that series in their own different ways.
Yeah, very
And
good.
especially Miller.
Yes.
He was a beast. He played fantastic hockey, JT Miller, in that series. I have nothing but admiration for the way he played. The Oilers could barely contain him. And they had that terrible problem with Besser. He had a health issue and missed Game 7. If Besser had played, who knows what would happen?
Right.
Because that line was given all kinds of trouble
Right.
to the Oilers. I think it was Miller, Besser, and had they put Peterson on that line by then? I can't recall. Or maybe it was Pius Suter on the line with those two. That was a heck of a line. They're also missing that great big kind of tough forward. He's injured this year.
Dakota Joshua. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
had testicular cancer, and he came back from that, and then he got hurt a second time. So it's just
Is that
not really
right? Oh, that's
not
terrible
really
to
been his
hear.
year. Yeah, he's a real good player. He's a good, strong power forward, and he's tough. But I don't see him as a particularly dirty guy. Like
Oh, he's just a really good
I'm
player.
not a fan of some Canucks, but I actually am kind of a fan of Dakota Joshua. JT Miller, I do have admiration for him, but I'm not going to say I have nothing but admiration
Well,
for him.
I'm just saying in that
I have a
series.
fair amount of
Pent up
healthy
anger.
dislike for some of his antics.
All right, fair enough. Bruce, my number is 3. Vinny DeHarnay took 3 penalties. One of them was, just trying to think of what they were now, cross check behind the net. There was an interference penalty. That was the third one. And what was the second? What was the other one? Do you recall?
He got penalties for cross-checking, tripping, and interference.
Tripping. I can't remember the tripping one that well. Anyway, now I remember it. He tripped a guy along the boards in the Canucks zone, and then he immediately dropped his head because it was an obvious little trip. And I'm so glad that Vinny DeHarnay got that big contract. He's going to make a lot of money in his NHL career, like millions of dollars. So that's fantastic, and I'm glad that happened. And I know that there are many people that wish he had stayed with the Oilers. And if he had been paid $1 million and could be the 7th defenseman on the Oilers, I'd be okay with that. He's a good 7th defenseman, but 2 years in a row he struggled to move the puck, and he can also struggle taking too many penalties. We didn't see it so much last year. We saw it more the year before, especially in the playoffs when he was kind of a marked man,
Right.
and anything he did seemed to get a penalty. But tonight he was doing it. He's if he's not really on top of his game, reading the game well, he can get behind the play and take penalties, and that's what happened tonight. So I like the player. Hope he does well. But man, and I think they scored on 2 of the 3
I
penalties.
took 2 skates of shame back to the bench.
Yeah, so that's really
That's
hard.
hard. I thought he might get benched after the last penalty, though. In all fairness, that interference penalty, that was real cheap.
It was interference.
It was, and it was at the center ice, along the boards on a sort of nothing play. And I was a little surprised that they called it, but maybe the refs got the memo.
Well, none of the penalties except for the tripping play, two of the cross-checking and the interference are interpretation plays, and often similar plays like that do not get called, especially cross-checks, actually. I thought the cross-check to the back was, you see it all the time and people don't get penalized. So it's like, I think, exactly.
You have to cross
it's part
a
of the
line.
game. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you can do it, but you have to cross a line for them to call it. So sometimes they decide you've crossed the line. They kind of call it.
I remember one year they decided to crack down on the cross-checking, and Adam Larson was on the Oilers then, and he was like the king of the cross-check, and he had a hard time that year adjusting, as I recall, to the the new rules that were in place there. Bruce, next game is
Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. matinee game against Buffalo Sabres, who beat Vancouver on Tuesday night and then lost in Calgary tonight.
okay.
And so they're on their Western Canadian swing right now, and they played the same nights that Edmonton did, so there's no real rest advantage other than Buffalo's traveling.
That's big. Yeah.
Edmonton, even minus McDavid's, a better team than Buffalo, but Buffalo beat Vancouver the night after, the game after Vancouver beat Edmonton.
Yeah.
So, they're you got to take them seriously. And unfortunately, that's the third game of McDavid's suspension, and the folks who wanted to take their families to a matinee to see number 97 are locked up. I have a good friend who happened to get tickets to 2 games this week, Tuesday and Thursday, and she didn't get to see McDavid in either one of the games. So that's just the luck of it. But
it's good you're standing up for the fans there, Bruce. Like, seriously.
I tend to do that, David. I was a long time Kane fan myself. And, there's every reason to have some expectations.
Yes.
And I mean, some of that failure is on McDavid himself for overreacting, but I think a lot of the attention is quite rightly been drawn on the NHL. I mean, today, was it Stauffer or Gregor? One of them was talking about how the Oilers are number 1 in the NHL for puck possession and number 1 in the NHL for puck possession in the offensive zone, and yet number 27 in the league for drawn penalties. Normally, you draw penalties by having the puck, and the closer to the other net that you are, the more likely you are to draw them. Well, apparently there's no relationship between those two things. Edmonton's way down at the bottom of the pack, and it supports the conspiracy theory that they call games by other criterion than the rules.
Oh, that's not a conspiracy, Bruce. That's a fact. That is a fact.
I'm kind of being facetious, but okay. I mean, it's pretty observable that. And anyway, tonight they didn't. They called what they saw as penalties, and right away, the first one was minute 34 into the first period. They kind of said, okay, Vancouver, you're not going to get away with anything tonight. And surprisingly, I was expecting a bunch of power plays for both teams. And in the end, it was 4 for Edmonton and none for Vancouver. So I'm sure there'll be a bit of whining out on the West Coast about that.
I think it was the movement to fire Gary Bettman that got the league to budge, Bruce.
Must have been.
Not exactly a movement. All right, Bruce. Thanks for talking tonight.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.